Welcome to the Inscendo Effect.
Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of the Inscendo Effect. We've got a great show ahead for you, and I can't wait to dive in because it's stuff that I think every business owner wants to do well, but doesn't always know the right way to get started. If you're a smaller company or a larger company wanting to scale, today we're talking about recruiting and a little bit of culture within an agency or within a business in general. Today I have with me one of my business partners, actually, Ryan Graham. And Ryan, you hold a lot of hats in the company, but I think one of the ones that you do the best and have kind of laid a really great foundation and groundwork for all of us is recruiting and onboarding. So anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm the hype man as well.
The hype man, he is. So once we onboard people, Ryan also is in charge with a few other people to manage and grow the sales team.
Yep.
So we're super excited that you're here. Thanks for talking it out with me. This will be more like a conversation more than an interview. And so we're going to talk a little bit about culture. Once you onboard people, what that looks like, but we're going to start with recruiting. That's the most important part of the podcast episode today. And I hope that you walk away with some actual nuggets that you can use and not just be walking away with a useless 30 minutes of your time. All right. Well, let's start by talking a little bit about recruiting as a whole, this whole world that you've had in recruiting. We now have 30 employees. I meant to mention that. We have 30 employees now with Inscendo, and you've helped grow that team. We've been doing this you've been in business ownership for about 14 years now?
Since 2011.
2011.
I started my career in insurance and property and casualty insurance.
Absolutely. And he actually got me into it. He called me up one day and was like, hey, you want to get into insurance? I was like, nah, why would I want to get into insurance? And obviously,
best decision you ever made.
It was the best decision I ever made. That's very true. And honestly, it showed me that there was so much potential in business ownership that was at our fingertips. In America, we have access to so much opportunity. And so it's been the best opportunity of my life. One thing I wanted to ask you about before we dive in is this tenure that we have with a lot of our team.
Yeah.
I think there's something to say about 5+ years, 10+ years for some of the employees that we have here. I think it goes to show that the culture that we've created is good, but also we're looking for the right people. We're doing it in a certain way. But I know we've made some mistakes too.
Yeah.
So let's start by talking about those. Those are always fun. What's the biggest mistake you think you've made in
I'd say the mistakes over the years, recruiting is a tough cookie to crack. And we've learned from many mistakes over the years, as I'm sure others that are listening to this podcast have as well. But some of the biggest ones are trusting your gut over the actual process and the personality traits, and not looking for the correct red flags. I think those are some things that those are big mistakes. Whenever it could be really expensive mistakes as well if you're not doing that and not sticking to a certain process on that. And we've learned that lesson over the years.
We certainly have. Well, and I think that another thing that might surprise people when it comes to your part of your process to recruiting now is that you look at a lot more than just what the people say. What is one thing about, because I know this because I work with you, so I guess that's kind of cheating, but what would you say that might surprise people when it comes to recruiting? What is something that people need to know that haven't recruited before that is actually a very important part of the process?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing is you always think as a recruiter, and when you're looking for people for your company, is you think that they have to be the right fit for you, and you ask them questions about how can you be a good fit for our company, when it should be the other way around. You should be asking them, how can we benefit you and how can we make you better? And whenever you join our company, how are you going to achieve your goals?
Right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. Like you know, what's hilarious. I don't even know that you know about yourself, but recruiting is a sales role.
100%.
And Ryan is a sales guy through and through, guys. Let me tell you one thing about my business partner. Ryan is so good at sales. He could sell a ice to an Eskimo, I think is his thing. And so I think one part about recruiting that is probably surprising to a lot of people is, hey, it's not you trying to find it's not you trying to interview this person to determine if they're the right fit for your team. It's the other way around too. It's like, hey, I want to show you that you want to be a part of this group.
Right.
I want to show you that you want to be a part of this team. So you're selling the opportunity to those that you recruit. One thing that I think you do really well, Ryan, too, that you've kind of taught me through the years is that the way people present themselves, it's the best that you're going to get when you're in an interview.
Right.
Like if you're in an interview, you're going to show the best side of you.
Absolutely.
Not the worst
They
side.
should be. And I do try to prep people like, hey, we're fairly casual, because I want to see what they're like whenever they do let their guard down a little bit, because that kind of opens up the door for other things questions they're going to ask, and they'll feel comfortable. But I do want to see, like, what are they doing? Are they asking the right questions? Are they following me fast whenever I move back and forth places? Do they seem like that they're engaged and they're paying attention in the conversation that we're having, and they're not aloof somewhere?
That's right. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, when you said, do they follow me with a sense of like
Urgency.
Yeah. When they walk into an interview and or when they walk into the meeting room and you go to sit down and they come and sit down behind you, is it like a slow, like mopey walk,
Right.
or is there like a sense of urgency? Some of our best leaders on our team and people that are some of the best sales people that we have are quick. They have a sense of urgency, and it shows even in the way that they walk.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, our top agents, top producers are all, they're fast moving, not just with their efficiency and their time, but they're fast moving on technology. They're in and out, even if they're not like the fastest typer or they're moving quickly, and they're thinking the next step ahead. And those are the kind of people that I think are going to be the best fit for a sales role in your organization.
Absolutely. Like a sense of urgency. We said it's visible in the way that they are thinking ahead by asking questions, or are they a go with the flow and on the spot kind of person? Sometimes that works, I guess, but there's a lot you can tell about someone with the way that they hold themselves and present to the interview, which that is the best you're going to get from them, right? That's an interview. So if you are concerned, I'll say this, if you're concerned about what you saw in the interview, the way they showed up, late without much of an apology or an explanation or understanding as to why, they mope into the interview with a very slow walk and not an excitement to be there, there's no enthusiasm, you're not going to get more enthusiasm behind the phone when you put them in the seat as a salesperson. The most enthusiasm is going to be right there trying to get that job opportunity, right? So very good points. Okay, so the first few minutes of the interview, what are some of the questions you might be asking in the first few minutes of an interview?
Sure. I mean, right off the bat, I want to know what their goals and what their expectations are for this opportunity. I want to know, how can we fit in to that role of their expectations and their goals, and do they actually have goals and expectations? How much? What are they expecting to make in income? And I'm going to put the income part aside to the end of the conversation, because I want to know more about them and the things that aren't related to pay ahead of time, because that's how you really dig down deep. Everybody can check off a box for what your comp structure look like and how much am I going to make, but you really want to know what somebody's like, and from the very beginning of the conversation, that's not related to income.
Right.
And so that's one thing. Another question I like to kind of find out about is how do you do in pressure situations? How do you do in? I like to find out what they're like whenever they have a goal to meet. Or do they hit those goals, or do they tend to not hit those goals?
Good question, especially for a salesperson.
Absolutely.
We have to know, what were your goals in your prior position? Did you hit them? And how often did you not hit them, and why?
And most real salespeople are they're winners. They find ways to win. How do they do thinking outside the box? We want people to not just be brainless and click a button. We want people like, hey, how can I find a solution to the problem that I have in front of me? And in our industry, problems are everywhere. We have so many problems every single day. And one thing about our leadership team is they're always finding solutions to problems. And that's what we want our sales team to do as well. And that's what we're shooting for.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think the best thing ever in an interview that I remember hearing is when someone told me they used ChatGPT to formulate all of their responses to a client. I remember thinking, well, you're the right person for this team, my friend, because you're being creative and thinking outside the box and relying on something that's probably going to formulate better responses than you can.
Right.
by prompting it the right way.
Mhm.
So yeah, do they think outside the box?
Yes.
Do they think about using tools to improve or create new things? So those are all things that we look for in an interview. And usually Ryan will be the first to interview. I'll be a second. And yeah, one thing that I think one question that I know I ask now a lot more now that I know that it exists, and I think it's a good question. One time we hired someone that did not work out, and come to find out, they were I don't know if you would call them a narcissist, but they were someone that took a hard. They were not great at taking responsibility for the
Mm.
mistakes that they made, and they didn't. And then there were sometimes you were faced with like anger or frustration when you addressed it. And I remember asking our HR director, like, hey, what is one thing that we could kind of look for those kind of personality types?
Mm.
We don't want to work with negative mindsets. We want to work
Right.
with positive mindsets. We want to work with people that are willing to grow
To
and
take
want to learn
responsibility.
and take responsibility. And Jill gave me a really great question to ask, and I ask it in every interview now. I don't know if I shared this with you yet or not, but I ask, what is a time? Tell me of a time where you made a mistake and it affected somebody negatively. How did you fix it, and what did you put in place to ensure it never happened again?
Awesome.
And I'll tell you, when you ask that question and someone's immediate response is, oh, well, yeah, there was this one time where I delivered the wrong food to someone's house. But let me tell you, it's because my coworker, he was always back there messing around, never showed up on time, I think he moved the order around. That's why I ended up, that's not the kind of response I want to hear. I don't want to hear that
Somebody
there's,
else was made the mistake instead of you being able to take responsibility for the action.
that's right. That there was somebody else that caused that problem for you.
Yeah.
The truth is, life happens, but how we react to it and how we grow from it is what you can take away from it. And so I want to hear, yeah, there was a time where I messed up. And
Yeah.
it impacted this customer. There was one guy we interviewed recently, and his response to that question was, "Yeah, in fact, I delivered this." That's where I got the thought from. Not the first response, but I used his same positive response and spun it. But he said, "Yeah, I delivered the wrong food to somebody's house, and I called my manager from the person's house, and he said, well, I can make a new pizza, but are you willing to bring it back?" He goes, absolutely, I will. So he told the client before he left that, hey, I'm going to go back, pick up the right pizza. And would you allow me to fix that and bring you the right pizza back? Even though obviously you're not going to tip me twice. It's going to be one tip. And so this is the conversation he's having in his mind. Obviously he didn't tell the client that, but he owned up to it. He didn't blame anybody, and he made it right. And so that's a big question that I've been asking lately, to make sure that the people we're bringing on want to grow.
Yeah.
That they understand they do make mistakes, but with those mistakes comes growth.
Absolutely.
And so, okay, well, tell me where you find good people. Can you tell me a little bit about the entire process, the recruiting process?
Sure. Foundation of most of our recruiting comes with the help of personality assessments. And the personality assessment provider that we use is Ideal Traits. It was made by an insurance agent, and it's meant for the insurance industry. I believe that the personalities that you're looking for are going to, depending on the role that you're looking for, are going to show up from that personality assessment. It's been right way more times than I have on my gut. I tried to trust my gut before and said, no, I don't believe that this is the case. I think this person's going to be a fit. It's happened multiple times and they end up not being a fit, or vice versa. Some of the best salespeople that I've ever known tend to have little hangups where they may be wishy-washy on making decisions, or they may be really messy or sloppy, but sometimes they make the best salespeople. And it showed on their personality assessment, and I just needed to give a little more thought into that personality assessment. So we do post with companies like Indeed, ZipRecruiter, a few other companies as well. And we don't spend a lot of money on recruiting like you would think that it would cost. It's not necessary to have to spend an arm and a leg on recruiting to be able to get the right candidates. I think it comes down to a lot of times what your job ad looks like in the creation, the follow-up process, the interview process, and then from there the follow-up after the interview process. And I think that really does shine light on what you're going to expect and your results you're going to get on your recruiting.
I agree. And I think that that sometimes can be overwhelming for people when you hear
Absolutely.
Ryan mention all the things that he does to make this
Yeah.
successful for our companies. It is a time commitment, and so there's that, right? But once you have a process in place, then it's just plug and play. So creating the process, meaning
Sure.
where are you going to post the job ad? Have you gone to ChatGPT yet to create that job ad and fine tune it and make sure that it's everything you want to be when you post it? I need salespeople. Well, what are the salespeople going to be doing in your office? Job responsibilities, duties, sales goals might need to be listed. And then have you decided how much you're going to pay them and what that's going to look like? So once you've created these things, now it's like, hey, I'm ready to turn on the funnel again. So let's go back to Indeed, put a little bit of money behind it, and start turning on to get the resumes coming in.
That's right.
And so once you create a process and put it into place, it's a lot easier to continue using in the future. Now, when you create these job postings, what are some language you use to entice people?
Yeah, I think the most important thing,
Because again, we're in sales. Like you're
right,
selling the opportunity to people.
and when you're recruiting, you are selling, and that is 100% the case. And it starts with you have to get their attention from the get go. It's just like when you if you're trying to get somebody to respond to a Facebook ad or to a click on Google or something, in order to get somebody's attention, you have to put something in there to get their attention. So I believe that it needs to be catchy from the start. It needs to show the realistic highest income potential that they can make to get their attention. And then it needs to be when you get into the job ad a little more, it needs to be transparent. You need to be able to say, okay, this is what the commission structure would look like from at the highest, and give that expectation. Expected first year earnings are this, expected second, third year earnings are this. And you have to be able to let them know that, because what I've noticed in whenever I'm interviewing people, when I'm talking with people or meeting with people, is that they let me know that the reason they responded is because it wasn't vague. It wasn't just, hey, see if you'd be a good fit to work for us, click here. There's so many MLM opportunities out there that people right that people are already gun shy from, because they've already been recruited that way, that they want to know that something is legit. And to know that something's a legit opportunity, you really have to put that in your job ad to start with the expectations and all of that.
No, that's good. And I think the one thing that that I have learned working alongside Ryan in this is that Ryan's told me, if you're Brooke, your ad, because I've created some ads for one of our other companies, is, hey, your ad, you need to go back in and add and tweak a couple of things, but add clarity. And I think that clarity and no vagueness when it comes to posting a job ad, because again, think about yourself. When you were younger and looking for a job opportunity, you didn't click on the one that didn't have a salary listed or commission opportunities. You clicked and responded to the ones that had that clearly listed out. Again, you can do a range of, you do normally do ranges of income from here to here of what someone can expect, or do you typically put a higher end income of what could happen?
So I think creating a few different ads is important, because you're going to get somebody's attention with one of them, and you're going to get a different group's attention with another. I think multiple job ads is very important. Sometimes you can have one that's kind of funny and catchy. Once they get into it, it kind of catches their attention and a little humor. And then other times you'll have ones that are straight to the point, but are going to be a little more rigid, like people that want to see this is what it is, this is what to expect. And then you'll have some with range, where you'll say this much to this much expectation, and then others you'll just put a flat amount to what to expect, because people want to see that, because then some people may get kind of turned off by seeing a range, and it kind of scares them a little bit. And you never really, until you try that with a few different ones and do a few different kind of like any kind of ad you do, until you try that a few times and see what the difference is going to be and what you're going to draw, you never really know how it's going to work.
So A/B test your ads. That's a great idea. So put 2 ads out there. Guys, y'all can listen, friends. If you are not using ChatGPT, Copilot, or any other AI tool to make your jobs easier at this point in your life, you are missing out, and you're already behind the 8. You're already behind the 8 ball. Is that right? I don't know, but you're behind. You got to get with it. Go open up that app, throw in there a very detailed response, as detailed as you can be. The more detailed you are in your request or prompt with these engines, the better the outcome. So if you just type in, give me a job description for a salesperson in my agency, that's not going to come out nearly as clean, organized, and thought through as, hey, chat, give me a clear job description for a full-time sales agent that will be working in office, not virtually. That's a big question right now, right? A lot of people are wondering right away, is this virtual or in person? That has a requirement to make 80 phone calls a day, reach sales goals of about 30,000 or more in average premium, right? If we're talking about an insurance agency, you're going to get a much clearer job description that will even have attributes and things listed in it that you're looking for based on your goals. So to be clear with your prompt, but man, ChatGPT that job ad and then A/B test it, like Ryan was saying, and throw up two, find out which one gives you the most response.
Yeah.
So on Indeed, when they reply to the job ad, I think what happens is you're alerted by a notification by email or something.
Yeah, that's email, and I even have a text alert set up. But as soon as it comes into your email, you have to jump right on it. I think that's one of the biggest keys. If you're going to get an opportunity to be able to talk to these candidates, you have to beat everybody else to the punch, because they're not just going in and looking to apply for your job. They're applying for like 15 different ones at the same time. And I've had people tell me before, hey, I applied to all these and you're actually the only person that responded to me, because everybody else, well, maybe they are still going to respond to them, but it'll be weeks later. Or it's just filling up, or they have to have certain, some companies have to have a certain quota of attempting to hire things. I've heard some of that stuff going around. They see us as real. And that's what is really important, is they need to see you as a real person, that they're in a real company that they have to work for, not just to fill a quota or to meet a goal of hired people. And you got to be quick on it, quick to the draw to text them right away. I'm sending out a text to them, even if it's on a weekend. Sometimes if it came in, that means they're
on the computer.
That means they're on it right then and there, just like you would an internet lead. If you're working an internet lead,
that's right.
You gotta text them
right away.
Yeah. That's right. And then the very next thing you do is I'm introducing myself in that text. I'm letting them know, hey, I noticed you just applied for the position with us. I wanted to make sure to introduce myself, and then I asked them to go ahead and complete the personality assessment, because they probably haven't done that yet. Let them know, hey, it only takes about 20 minutes to complete. You want a high number of people that are going to complete that. And if you're following up on the text message, you're going to get the returns on that. The people that don't complete those, they either see you as that you're not following. There may not be a real company, so they don't want to put in the effort or time, or they're not really interested in the position. So if you've texted them and asked them to do that, and then they're not filling that out and completing that pretty quickly, that means they're probably not really interested in the position. It's time to move on from that one afterwards. And it's not that you just move on from it. It's in a pipeline.
That's right. Just like anything else.
Yeah.
Guys, again, it's sales, man, Ryan. Every time you talk about the pipeline, the funnel of bringing these applicants in,
100%.
How you get it when it's hot. If someone's online applying for your job, don't wait to email them 4 days later.
Yep.
Everything you're telling me it is sales. Recruiting is sales.
Yep.
And if you're not good at selling your opportunity to people, then that means you need to believe in it more. So go back to the basics and make sure that what you're presenting is something you'd want to offer to your friend or your neighbor or your kid. And if it's not, why? Is it because the environment sucks? Well, address the environment issues. Is it because you're not clear and you don't even know what your own goals are for your business? We'll figure those goals out, because your staff's goals should align with yours, right? So,
well, a lot of agencies, and even smaller agencies, that could really benefit from this. One thing that they're thinking of is, I don't have the ability to put that much time into it, because let's be honest, time is our most valuable asset as agency owners, and as hiring managers. And a lot of times that becomes the hang up, of like, oh, I don't want to do this because I don't want to be able to have to put so much time into it. The real truth on that is it does not take as much time as you think it does. All you have to do is just put a process together for yourself, follow that process, and tweak it here and there to be able to make it part of something that you're continuing to evolve into, and it just needs to be a quick little follow-up. So that's just a quick text message, a quick this, a quick that. It doesn't need to be all day thing to where you're sitting. You need a full-time recruiter like this. You can do this as an agency owner that has many hats, like we all do. We all have many hats in our companies. You can do this just yourself with just like a couple hours a week. That's it.
See, that's good to know. You put an actual amount of time to it, and that sounds right. I mean, if you're putting the processes in place that you've done, it should take no longer than that. Now, tell me about. So we use Ideal Traits. Ideal Traits is something you touched on.
Big believer.
Ideal Traits is a company in itself, a recruiting tool that posts to places like Indeed. But once someone applies to an ad on Indeed, it filters them to the Ideal Traits assessment.
Yes.
And it asks them, besides their resume, to also complete this 30, 45-minute assessment. Tell us about the assessment and how you use that.
Yeah. So the assessment is really become our biggest gauge of whether or not somebody's going to be a fit for our organization. It wasn't that way forever. We've learned lessons over the years, like we talked about earlier, that we have to stick to that. And every time we think we want to override these assessments and try
because of a feel-good feeling that we got.
Feel-good feeling, because they might be a great fit for our organization, but it's not a fit necessarily for the need that we have at the time, which the majority of our needs is almost always sales. So yes, somebody might be a great employee, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they would be a great fit for the sales role or the role that you're hiring for. So it's important to know where, like you always say, what does their seat need to be at on the bus? So that's where the personality assessments come in. The ones that we target that are tend to make the best salespeople.
The personality types.
The personality types are sales leaders, and I'm saying it in order of the ones that I'm most stoked about pretty stoked about. Is sales leader, salesperson, closer, persistent personality, competitor, and occasionally independent personalities. That was 6 of them that we're targeting. And
those are specific personality types listed in the Ideal Traits assessment.
Ideal Traits.
So if you use a different assessment, it might not be labeled that, of course, but what Ryan's saying is those are the personalities that have done very well for us in sales roles before.
Absolutely. And the ones that we tend to avoid and that we want to stay away from for a sales role, specifically for a sales role, and I believe that's the biggest need that people have almost all the time is a sales role, is we tend to stay away from engineers. That engineer mindset, they tend to lack the ability to think outside the box or being able to pivot, which is 90% of what we have to do as insurance agent. They close off a certain section of the state where we can't write, or they make a certain underwriting change. And if you did a quote for somebody and you can't pivot to another carrier or pivot to another
without
option,
getting frustrated.
It's going to be very hard to be a salesperson or be successful on the sales side. A knowledgeable personality, while they may be a good fit for a customer service role, they tend to have a hard time making the sale without full details of what the outcome is. They don't know something 100%. They have a hard time making that sale or being able to get the customer to buy.
And that was which one again?
That was knowledgeable.
Knowledgeable. Same thing with nurturer.
Nurturers
would be better for
nurturers
service.
are great for customer service. In fact, if you could get at least 1 out of every 3 customer service people as a nurturer, that they're the ones that are going to keep your customers happy and satisfied, and they make them feel warm and fuzzy. So, and another one that we tend to avoid for the sales role is organizer. They have a hard time with confrontation, and every single time we talk to a customer, a prospect, they're giving us how easy is it? We don't really get a whole lot of softballs where a customer's like, yeah, here's my payment information. Let's get this policy in place without even going over or having some objections. So organizers tend to avoid confrontation. Perfectionists, they don't adapt well to constant change.
Yeah.
And let's face it, we're in an industry that is constantly changing. Depending on the state you're in, some states are constantly changing more than others. But I can tell
Right.
you, in Texas, it's pretty rough on the changes.
We've learned to be super malleable living in
Absolutely.
Texas and trying to operate an insurance agency. Well, and I think that the key to all of those successful sales personalities for, again, a sales role specifically, is that there's usually a high motivation and drive,
100%.
and a sense of urgency. And so going back to that interview, did that person walk in with a pep in their step? Were
Yep.
they happy to be there and anxious to get moving? A sense of urgency with the questions they were asking. That sense of urgency tends to do really well. You'll know that about them if you give them an assessment. One thing I'll tell you before you give an assessment, this is one thing that we started doing recently, is making sure they know that there's always a seat on the bus. We need to determine what seat is best for you. So take it as honestly and as thoroughly as possible. Don't speed through it, and don't answer the questions like you think I'm going to want to hear,
Exactly.
because you're not going to be happy in that role. And don't worry, if you really enjoyed talking with us and you believe you want to work for our company, there's probably a seat on the bus, but we want to make sure it's the right one for you.
And I debate on whether or not to tell the prospective candidate that or not, because sometimes I feel like if you tell somebody something, now they're thinking about it. So sometimes I avoid it. Sometimes I'll tell them, and just to see how it turns out. Here's the thing, though. It's really hard to trick the assessment. Whenever they try to trick it, it comes back as something like inconsistent. Or something that's just way off the wall on the personality, and you could ask them to take it again, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to be correct on what they took it, and based on that.
Good.
And like you said, high motivation and drive. Yes, persuasiveness, convincing under pressure, that is something to look for. But if someone in a sales role especially does not have a high motivation and drive, they may be a pretty good salesperson for a little bit, or they may do pretty good, but what are their aspirations to get them to the next level? What are their goals and expectations long term? You want to find those people that want to be with your company long term. And I believe that's also one way that we've been able to reduce turnover. As you've all seen, those that have been in hiring roles before, especially on the insurance side, it's probably one of the highest turnover occupations. People usually, within 3 months, people are out of the industry, whether it's the health and life side or the property and casualty side. People do not stay in the industry very long, because it could be that they weren't a very good fit to start with, or it could be the environment that they're with was not a good environment. There's multiple different reasons, but one thing we've been able to do is we've been able to reduce that turnover, and I believe this is hiring the right people from the beginning is a part of that. And then that's when culture also comes in to be able to reduce that turnover as well.
That's true. Culture is a big part of it. We'll touch on that in just a bit. I think the one thing that comes to mind as we're talking is that good old saying, that adage, be slow to hire and quick to fire. But I think Gary Vee says, be quick to hire and quick to fire, right? So I do believe, even though we're not great at practicing it, we're going to be honest. We were talking about this
We're
earlier.
a little slow to let people go sometimes.
We are, and I don't know that it's a terrible thing in all circumstances, right? Because sometimes we're quick and haste because we're angry or upset or frustrated about how little someone's been following process, or picking up the phone and making the dials they need to make, right? But at the end of the day, you will not know the person during an interview, even with the references they give you. Guys, they're going to give you the references of the people that are going to say good things about them. So that doesn't always work. One thing that we do is that we're starting to interview twice. So the first person that interviews, it might be a in-person interview. We try to strive for that. And the second follow-up interview, at least in the side of the agency that I'm a part of, we're doing a second interview via Zoom. And that Zoom interview is just with another manager in the office that gets another chance to ask maybe similar questions, if not the same, but also different questions, to get a feel for that person as well. But at the end of the day, you don't know who you're bringing on. Like the reality is, the assessments, the interview, the multiple interviews, the references, none of that's going to tell you someone's true character. And so if they're a negative Nancy, if they're a narcissist, if they're just lazy, sometimes it's hard to pick up on those things with doing the things.
Some people are really good at interviewing,
at selling themselves,
and at selling themselves, and they just do not perform whenever they actually get into the role.
Right.
So it's really hard to tell that.
Right.
And I do believe that that you can kind of pick up on that whenever you're meeting with them. There should be some red flags that you're kind of, are they taking forever to get back to you? Did they just ghost you? You know, did they ghost you 3 times previously?
That's
And
a
you
good
finally
sign.
got them to respond back and like, hey, what's got you responding back now? That's kind of unprofessional,
It
in my
is.
opinion. Like, I mean,
That's right.
I'm, yes, I'm going to keep them in the pipeline, and maybe there's a valid reason. I'll listen to that reason, and I'll ask them. I do believe in transparency, and tell me straight up, like, why did you not follow up
Oh, you
with
were
me
in the
before?
hospital for a month. Well, of course, there's
Right?
a reason
Yeah,
for that. But right,
yeah,
having a professional reason,
sure.
and I love that. Ryan
And
is
everybody makes
super
mistakes,
real.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I get it, So if somebody, we are in that era where the generation of people that we are recruiting and talking to, they are ghosters. That is the biggest frustration that I know all of us as recruiters have a very hard time with, is people that ghost, or maybe they've already been hired and
They
they
don't
just don't
show
show
up.
up for work sometimes without letting anybody know. That is a common problem that I know all of us face.
You know what? That's a good segue, actually. Thank you for bringing us into our next section. That we'll just skim over briefly. We're not going to go into detail about this because I think that culture and setting a standard with what's expected in the office
Sure.
is something that's a little different for everybody. But going back to what Ryan just said, whenever you have people that are lackadaisy in their approach, they don't hold a level of professionalism that you, but also a customer, is going to expect, and you see that in the interview process, that is a big red flag. They're not going to be better once you onboard them. Remember, you're getting the best in the interview and during that process. So if they're doing that now, probably not a good sign. That's definitely a red flag, unless they have a valid reason for it, of course. But one thing that I think you do, before we move on, this is one thing I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you do this. Ryan sends a follow-up text. So let's say you book an interview. So this is sales, man. This is sales. You book the interview, right? The meeting. You book the meeting for Monday. It's Friday. Well, there's a couple days that are going to pass, and you don't want someone else to come in and book an interview that seals the deal for them,
right,
without getting a chance to speak with you, right? So what do? Sunday afternoon, it's a friendly reminder. Not really Sunday afternoon. That's a bad example. Monday, you book it for Wednesday. Tuesday afternoon, because usually
I text them.
I'm in the group text back saying, hey, I want to loop you into one of your managers, Brooke Beasley. We're both looking forward to talking with you tomorrow at 2 p.m.
That'll also reduce your ghosted interviews. If you text them the day before and you get them to confirm that they're going to be there, that will reduce the chances that you're going to get ghosted.
I love that, but it's also just being kind and helpful.
Absolutely.
As a reminder.
Well, we're all busy. We all have
right.
things that get our attention. So I get it. Sometimes I need that text reminder as well. I ask them to put it on their schedule. I ask them to. I would say, hey, make sure to put an alarm on your phone so that way, you're able to be on time to meet with us.
It just truly shows that, hey, you and this other person, Brooke, are making time in their schedule to meet with you, that you expect them to be there.
Absolutely.
Without saying it directly.
Yes.
So that's super smart. Really great little tidbit there. Let's talk about culture for a brief minute, because I think that that's seen when people come in for an interview. And so that's a part of the recruiting process. Number one, you have to have a good culture to be able to talk about in the interview, because people don't want to go work somewhere they don't enjoy being. Even if it's virtual, guys, and that's something that we're about to start diving into a little bit more. So we don't have all the clues or all the good tips and nuggets on creating a great virtual environment, but we will. Stay tuned, because we rise above. That's what we do at Inscendo. And so I think one thing that you have to have in your office is good culture, and that's a super broad term. Culture is just this feeling or sense in an office that's either good or bad. It has a negative connotation or a positive connotation. And one thing that I love that Ryan started years ago, that we've carried on to through all the agencies that we've opened, is little nuggets within the sales environment culture. Do you want to talk about like the buttons?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's goofy, it's silly. I know a lot of you probably do it already. Some people I've heard do like a sales gong or something. I've done bells, or we now have these little buttons that you can get on Amazon, and you can record your voice. And you know what? It's goofy, it's silly. I know, but the funniest thing is that the agents now need it as a part of the whenever they get a close, they expect it, and when they don't, they're disappointed.
Can we go get those buttons, Melissa? Would you mind going out there and grabbing one of those buttons? These people got to hear these buttons.
Yeah,
they're fun.
So
you can record your voice on, but he did. He recorded his voice on.
I'm infamous for for getting the excitement going, and let's go. So I get everybody pumped up
That's
whenever
right.
they get a close, and I want everybody to hear it. I mean, it sounds silly the first few times you do it, but if you're not doing that in your office, that is probably one of the best things that you can do to be able to create the sales environment. And Melissa,
Go ahead, hit it for us,
grab
Ryan.
one for us.
Thank you, Melissa.
So we'll
This
have
is
the
awesome.
button right here. So,
Guys, I'm telling y'all, people in the office get so excited to hit that button, so much so that if you track items or policies and not just total premium, they'll want to hit that button for every policy or item that they
Yep.
sell. So if they sell a home and auto and an umbrella, they're hitting that sucker 3 times because they
Right.
want everybody to feel the hype and be excited with them.
And if I miss it, I have to put it on the group chat, and I have to
Acknowledge
verbalize it through text
He
to
does.
acknowledge it. So,
And people get offended when they sell something and
like, hey, you missed me. What happened?
why'd you not give me a shout out? That's something else you do really well. You're always making sure
Yeah.
that in the group chat, we use Group Me within each of the companies and each of the agencies to communicate
Yeah.
different things in the mornings and afternoons, but also sales. Like, hey, congratulations, Brad, for making that deal. Another thing when it comes to culture is making sure that you're celebrating the personal wins and things that are important to your team, and also there for people when they're going through hard times. If you can't be there for people and celebrate the good or the bad that's personally important to the people that work with you, why are they going to care about your business? But man, when you can deposit that into their trust bank and you can celebrate their birthdays, we decorate every single desk for every single birthday in these offices. And that's on purpose because, again, we want them to feel valued. Then we have a conversation when we celebrated you giving birth to your baby by bringing a cake and making sure everybody signed a card about good birthday or baby wishes, or decorating your desk with a few balloons and streamers for your birthday. The conversations when you have to have those hard conversations, like, hey, I'm noticing the last 2 months we haven't hit sales goals. What's going on? There's already been trust deposited into the trust bank, and I think that's a really big part of culture.
That's something that Brooke brought in that I was not doing previously with my agencies. That, man, I really see the difference. Like, people look forward to that when they get the fruit on their 1 or 2 year anniversaries or what.
Chocolate dip fruit.
That's a big thing. Like, and it lets people know that they're appreciated. The big thing about that is when you're doing that stuff and you have that environment going, it becomes genuine after. You have to force it a little bit at the beginning, and you have to kind of there's some growing pains to kind of get some of those things going, but then it becomes very normal. And when you normalize that, when you bring someone in that you're recruiting and they come and meet with you in office, we want people in office to meet with us. We schedule a meeting in person. I want them to see that environment, to see what happens whenever they hear the buzzers going off and the sales happening.
Go!
Yeah, and they hear, and I'm like, hey, pardon me for a second so I can cheer, whenever they see that as a normal thing, that they're like, oh man, this is somewhere I want to be. This is somewhere I want to work.
They celebrate my wins, because sometimes when you're in sales, we all know this. If all you're striving for is that $50,000 in premium by the end of the month, and then it starts fresh the first of the following month, it becomes a rat race. So make your environment a culture that you would want to be at every day. What do you want to be? Do you want people to celebrate you? Do you want people to understand when you're going to show up late to work one day because you lost a good buddy, without giving them a hard time that they're an hour late for work? So just finding ways to do that. I think what also helps culture, believe it or not, this might surprise people, but I truly believe in our years of business ownership, what I have learned personally, what creates excellent culture is having clarity. Yeah. And when you don't have clarity on what your goals are for your sales team, or for any role for that matter, and you don't have clarity for what the expectations are for a promotion or where you're headed as a company, then all that does is leave a vagueness and uncertainty about where they are in the company.
And those are lessons we had to learn.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's something those are hard lessons that we've had to learn. It's not something that we just automatically knew. We learned the hard way.
That's right. That's right. We did learn the hard way. And I think this is something that we're really just seeing more clarity in the last couple of years. And we've been in business ownership for 10 or 15 years. So I do think that clarity helps a lot with culture. When people know, hey, to get that promotion, I have to hit this much in premium and also have consistent daily activity goals that look like this, this, and this. Well, then you and them both know when they've reached that, they've earned that promotion. So what does that look like for your sales team? Make sure that's written down and not just discussed, but written down on some sort of compensation plan or agreement they sign when they onboard. Not only is that part of the recruiting process so that they understand what they're coming into, if that's clear from the beginning, you holding them to those expectations later isn't hard, but also they strive for them because now there's a clear written goal that they can work toward. I think that's really important. And that would be my ad when it comes to what you can do to ensure that you've got a good culture. I also think that that I would like to talk to you a little bit about how intentional you are with recruiting on a regular basis or an as needed basis.
Yeah,
Is
glad you
that
brought that
something
up. Well,
you try to
here's
do?
the issue with recruiting, and here's the issue with turnover. Um, Turnover is not always a bad thing. One thing that we're really intentional with is whenever we bring someone on and they have goals, their goals evolve. Maybe they want to open their own agency. Maybe they want to move up into management. Maybe they want to start a family and not work for a little while. Those kind of things come up. We want to be a part of that process, and we want them to move to the next level and do those things that they want to do and do those things they want to accomplish. But we believe that we can be a part of that, but we also have to know that those things come up.
Yep.
And you can have the best low turnover in the world, and you're still going to lose good people.
Yeah.
And you always have to be interviewing and hiring. Right. The one time that you say, "Hey, I'm going to take 2 or 3 months off from interviewing and recruiting because I think we got a solid team." You could lose like 3 or 4 people in 1 month. And then you're really scrambling at that point. So the key is you should always be looking for good people. You should be going to Best Buy and getting your computers and say, "Hey, this person was really good at helping me. I went there." You should go to a Cheesecake Factory or some other restaurant.
Chick-fil-A, man,
where they do a lot of. Chick-fil-A has incredible people. Yeah, but people that do a lot of upselling. That they're because when they upsell a tab or they close down a shift on a Saturday night, the ones that are closing down the shift, and I learned this from Nick, is the ones that are closing down the shift are the ones that the managers all want there because they're the ones that they can count on to be responsible, and then also close out very well and have a very good bar tab and things like that to increase the tips.
That's clever.
So be looking for those people at all times. And then invite them, to, "Hey, have you ever considered going into insurance before? I know it's not something you probably thought about, but I feel like you'd be a great fit for that. Hey, here's my card if you ever want to reach out to me. Or do you mind if I get your number? I'd love to text you an opportunity to see if we'd be a good fit for you." And you should always be looking for that next closer, that next hustler, that next good fit for your organization that can move into leadership at some point.
That's right. Well, great. I think that about wraps it up. I think that hopefully you guys walk away with some nuggets that you can implement. I think the key takeaway from all of this is intentionality. Put things in place processes that you can just plug and play and continue using and perfecting over time. And also make sure that you believe in your product because recruiting is selling, right? Believe in your product, which is your company. And so you've got to sell yourself, follow through with a potential person that you want to bring on your team because you like them just as you would someone you're trying to sell an auto and home policy to.
So shameless last little plug. We are putting together a recruiting pipeline in Inscendo IQ. That is our CRM that we've created. We believe that it's going to help to fill some of the gaps that you may have and some of the automation whenever you don't have the time necessarily to be able to go out and do some of these things yourself. We believe that the automation that we have in our CRM and Inscendo IQ is going to help fill those gaps and do some of that work for you so it doesn't take as much time.
That's right. Shameless little plug there. Yeah, IQ is one of our products at Inscendo. And it's a CRM that is meant for sales that we're also bringing over to the recruiting side. Super excited about it. Y'all should be too because it will be a game changer. Speaking of that, you need to make sure that you follow us, like us on all our social sites so that you don't miss a beat. As we're releasing IQ and the different benefits that it will do for you within your company as a whole, but specifically for insurance agencies, you don't want to be the last person to hear about it. So hello, go like and follow us, our YouTube pages, Facebook pages, Insta pages, and we hope to see you on the next episode. Ryan, thank you for joining us. Oh, high five. I was going to give you a pat on the back too. We'll see you next time.